Hey everybody, Michael Strong back in the lounge with you today. Today we're going to go to my backyard to have what I call an impromptu barbecue. The focus of this one is what I call details, details, details. So let's get started with this page and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now my son Colin lives downtown in a loft and he doesn't have a place for a barbecue. He doesn't even have a balcony. So when he wants to have his friends over and do a barbecue, he comes to Mom and Dad's house. So that's what he asked me one day. And he said, "Dad, can I have a couple of friends over?" And I said, "Sure." So when he came home from work that day, there was Colin and about 15 of his friends in the backyard. So I thought every opportunity I see, I think of a scrapbook page. So naturally, this was an opportunity for me. So I started with kind of a patterned paper. It reminded me of a tablecloth. And I know that a lot of you have a little problem sometimes with heavily patterned backgrounds. So I was thinking about that when I was putting it together. And I took an old trick that I have learned from some pals in scrapbooking, and I brought a piece of vellum to cover the center. And what this is going to do is take down the pattern a little bit. You'll still see some of the color, but it's going to simplify the page. So we're going to put a piece of vellum on the page to take down the color a little bit. So now, naturally, the main element here are some photographs that I took during the barbecue. So one of the things I learned in art school is about composition and balance. And we're using a pretty big picture for one of the elements in the design. And if you have a large object, you can balance it with several smaller objects. And these are pictures that I cropped a little bit smaller. Now, one thing you do have to remember about when you're using vellum is a lot of times the attachment tape or whatever you're using will show through, especially if it's very thin. So what I like to do is, after I figure out where my pictures are going to be, I'll lift it up, make a little X where I'm going to put the attachment, and I'm using the double-sided Scotch brand tape to attach the vellum. I've been using this product for years, but I really didn't know that it was photo safe. It's just a regular Scotch tape that I've been using years and years, but it's safe for all your scrapbook pages, so go ahead and use it. So once I have the little mark on there, I lift up the vellum and just put the tape underneath, and then when it's all put together, it's hidden behind an element of the design. I want to show you how I brought those details in that I was talking about. The details were the accumulation of bottle caps. By the end of the evening, there were lots and lots of them on the table. And I did notice the kids playing with them. I say kids, they're 20-somethings. And I thought this would make some really interesting memory maker for me to put on the page. So I arranged them in a kind of a grid, and I used my digital camera to do a picture, as you see here. It's going to be one of the design elements in the page. The program I use in conjunction with the digital camera allows me to print various sizes. So you can see that I had small ones and medium-sized ones and then the big ones. And I'm using the small ones and the big ones on the page. I want to punch these out, and of course my punch doesn't quite fit to the one I wanted. So I'm going to cut a little line into the picture so that my punch can reach the cap that I want. So you can see I'll turn it upside down, put it in there, and just give it a click. And there's my bottle cap. This is one of my new favorite products. It's from Marvy Uchida. It's the Clever Lever Punch. I just love them. I have them in every size. This one happens to be the 1.5-inch size. So what I did is I punched out a number of the big ones, and I'm going to use them as the anchor to the page to kind of bring the color from this piece that I had cut out, and we'll put that right up here, and then all of these bottle caps will fit down here along the bottom of the page. And of course, I use the grid from the paper to kind of line them up because, I don't know, I just like things all lined up like that. I did want to scatter a few out throughout the page, so you can kind of see how adding these that are just scattered about add another level of interesting design. Now, the only thing missing left for me is title bar and a little journaling. I know that it's like, there's no room for journaling on this page, but I did find a way to do it. For the title bar, I went to my computer and I printed out several what I think were kind of casual fonts. And I kind of laid them on and figured out which one I thought looked best. And the one I liked the best because it seems the most fun and made me think of that evening was this one. So for the journaling, what I did was I found this bottle cap here, and instead of punching it out, I actually cut it out, and I left some of the background color on so that when I put it on the page, it really stands out from the background, as you can see. Now, believe it or not, this is where I'm going to do my journaling. A good friend of mine told me that you have to remember to put who, what, where, when, and that sort of thing onto the page, because in a few years, maybe in a few months, I'll forget what was going on. So what I did was I made a little spiral with a pencil, starting in the center of the cap, and then I switched to a gel pen, and what I did was I put everybody's name on that spiral, and at the end I put the date of the evening. Here on the finished page are all the names on the bottle cap, and it's just another detail that's going to help me remember that evening. So I do have another page that I want to show you that also has something about detail. It's not a little object, but it is something from one of our trips. And we were in England, went to Oxford, England, and the thing that was so amazing was the cobblestone streets. I just took a picture of the street, basically, aimed my camera down, took a picture of the street, and used it up here in my title block, and then also used it down here to remind people of the journaling that I used on the page. So whether or not you have big kids, little kids, there's always some little detail that you can add to a page. Like if you have a boy that collects, say, Matchbox trucks or something like that, any kind of little object that your child might be interested in, take pictures of them, add them to your page. They're going to add a lot of charm, a lot of detail. It'll help you remember a really special day.
Michael had a great idea about adding small details of a special event or memory to your scrapbook pages. Here's a few more. What about fond memories of Grandma's house and her homemade oatmeal cookies? How about photos of little girls playing dress-up or sentimental heirlooms? Could those shells collecting dust on a table become pattern paper on a page about digging for treasures on a beach? The next time you sit down to do a layout, think about the little details that make that memory special. For step-by-step instructions on how to create this week's project, download the design guide featuring special make-it-your-own bonus tips.